Hey everyone. So this is where we're going to look at 2.04, two lines and transversals, and this is going to go along with what we're going to look at with 2.05 and then what we're going to do with the IXL assignment. So today we're talking about parallel lines cut by a transversal, and what does that mean? Some learning targets to the objective is to complete, we want to be able to identify the pair of angles formed by lines and transversals, and then we want to be able to determine the angles of parallel lines when they're cut by a transversal. Okay. We're only really going to look at 2.04, and then during Thursday's live session, we'll look at 2.05. Important definitions as we go through this unit. The first one is on alternate exterior angles. And I'll show you a good example of this using a picture. So this definition might not make sense right now, but once we start looking at it in more detail, it'll be more understandable. So alternate exterior angles are the outside angles on opposite diagonal sides of a transversal crossing two lines. Alternate interior angles are the inside angles on opposite diagonal sides of a transversal crossing two lines. Corresponding angles are angles that lie in the same position or match up when a transversal intersects two lines. And then a transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines in a plane. Okay. So what is a transversal? Okay, so a transversal is going to be a line that intersects two lines in the same plane at two different points. Okay. And during the course of this unit and this recording, what we want to look at is what are we able to conclude about the angles that are formed by parallel lines that are cut by a transversal. So are they equal, or can we figure out what a missing angle is if we know what one of those angles already is? Okay, and that's what we're going to look at today. So looking at this picture, we can see these two black lines, A and B. These are our two parallel lines, okay? They're going to run side by side forever, and they're never going to cross. But then we have this pink line as T. This is our transversal. This is what crosses both of those parallel lines and creates all 8 of these angles. So we've got angle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I've also labeled on the outside here, you can see it's labeled as exterior, and then in between these two parallel lines is the interior. That's going to play an important part as we start talking about alternate interior angles and alternate exterior angles. Okay, so this is a good diagram to kind of take note on to understand exactly what a transversal is, and now we're going to look at what it's going to do for these angles. And this is the definition again, okay? So today we're going to look at what's called corresponding angles, alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and same side interior angles, okay? And this is just a brief overview of what those definitions are, and then also some examples, which we're going to break this down a little bit more and pay attention to each one of these individually throughout the next couple of slides. So the first one we're going to look at is the corresponding angles. So corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal. Okay, so you see this transversal, and we see that 1 and 5 are both to the left of this transversal. Okay, and they lie on the same side of lines A and B. So you can see that both 1 and 5 are on the top of A and B, of line A and line B. So we can say that angle 1 and angle 5 are corresponding angles. Okay, the same if it were on the other side of the transversal, as long as they're on the same side of the transversal and they're both either on the top or the bottom of lines A and B, they would be considered corresponding angles. Make sure you note this important note down here. These angles will be congruent, okay? They are going to be congruent angles, so they'll be the same measurement. So if we know that angle 1 is 42 degrees, we would know that angle 5 is also 42 degrees. The next thing we're going to look at is this alternate interior angles. These are non-adjacent angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal, and they're both going to be between lines A and B. So we can see here that 3 and 6 are both, 3 is on the left side of the transversal and 6 is on the right side of the transversal. But they're both in that interior section of the parallel lines, okay? So they're alternate interior angles, okay? So remember, they have to be on opposite sides of the transversal and both inside those parallel lines. The next thing we're going to look at is alternate exterior angles, okay? Again, they're going to lie on opposite sides of that transversal. However, they are both going to be on the outside of that those parallel lines. So you can see that angle 1 up here is on the top and the exterior part, and then angle 8 is at the bottom on the exterior part as well. So these are alternate exterior angles. And these are also going to be congruent angles, so they would be the same measurement. So if we knew if angle 1 was 24 degrees, we would know that angle 8 is 24 degrees, okay? And then we're going to look at same side interior angles. These are going to lie on the same side of the transversal between lines A and B. So in this case, we've got 3 and 5. They're both in the interior of those parallel lines, so between those parallel lines, and they're both on the same side of the transversal, okay? These angles are supplementary. So this is important to remember. Complementary and supplementary and vertical, those definitions are not going to go away. We're just going to build from those. So we know that supplementary angles are going to add up to equal 180 degrees. The sum of those angles will be 180. So if we knew that, let's say angle 5 was 60 degrees, we could take the difference from 180 and figure out that angle 3 is going to be 120 degrees. And then 120 plus 60 would give us a supplementary angles of 180 degrees. Okay, so this is also an important note to remember. These angles will be supplementary. Let's look at a little bit of an example so we can practice defining these terms that we just learned. So we want to look at this picture here, and we want to select any alternate exterior angles, alternate interior angles, and corresponding angles, or we could say that none of these will correctly classify each pair of angles. So in this case, they're giving us this first one, they're giving us angle 1 and angle 5. So if we find angle 1 here and we find angle 5, what can we conclude about those two angles? We can see that angle 1 is on the left side of the line, and this is important to note, these lines are not parallel, okay? And that's okay, it's still gonna, the same definitions are gonna apply. So even though they're not parallel, we're still looking at this part to the left of this line is your exterior, between these two lines is your interior, and then over here to the right, this is also your exterior. And then you have this one line that's transversal that cuts through both of those lines. So angle 1 is to the left of this line, and then angle 5 is right here. We can say that these angles are not going to be interior angles because angle 1 is outside, so that's exterior, and angle 5 is interior. So we can also say they're not alternate exterior angles because we've got one on the exterior and one on the interior. We could say, though, that these angles would be corresponding angles. They're both on the same side of that transversal, okay? And they're both on the same side of those lines. They're both to the left of those lines, so they would be corresponding angles. Next one we're going to look at is angle 3 and angle 6. So angle 3 is right here, and angle 6 is right here. Well, we can conclude that it's not exterior angles because these angles are both to the interior of these lines. Okay, we can also conclude that it's not corresponding angles because remember with corresponding angles, they're both on the same side of those lines. And in this case, angle 3 is to the right of this line, and then angle 5 is to the left of this line. So they're not on the same side. But we could say that these are going to be alternate interior angles, okay? Alternate interior angles would be the answer. They're both on the inside of these two lines, and one's on one side of the transversal and the other's on the other side of the transversal. What about angle 3 and angle 7? We know that angle 3 is to the right of this line here. Angle 7 is also to the right of this line here, and they're both on the same side of this transversal. So we could say that these are going to be corresponding angles. They're both on the same side of the transversal, both on the same side of each of those lines, both to the right. So they're corresponding angles. And then last, we've got angle 2 and angle 7. We could say that these are alternate exterior angles, okay? And none of these, because it is alternate exterior angles. They're both on the exterior of these lines, and they're both on opposite sides of the transversal. One's to the top of the transversal, and one's on the bottom of the transversal. So these would be alternate exterior angles. Okay. All right. So looking at this question, we want to know which pair of angles are alternate exterior angles. Okay, so we want to, and in this case, we've got 4 answer choices and each have a pair of angles. So just take a look at each one of those individually and just kind of check to see if it would work. So we've got angle 1 and angle 4. We know that angle 1 is on the exterior, but angle 4 is on the interior. So these two would not work. A would not work. 1 and 5. Actually, let me go back to 1 and 4. 1 and 4 would actually be classified as vertical angles. Okay, so keep that in mind. These would be vertical angles. Answer choice B, angle 1 and angle 5. Angle 1, we already said, is on the exterior, on the outside. Angle 5, though, is on the interior. Okay, so we could say that these would not work because they're not both outside of those lines. These would actually be classified as corresponding angles. Okay, and then answer choice C, angle 1 and angle 7. Okay, these are both on the outside of those lines, so they are exterior angles, but they're not alternate. So this would not work. And then answer choice D, angle 1 and angle 8. They are both on the outside, so they are exterior angles, and they're both alternating. One's on one side of the transversal and 8 is on the other side of the transversal. So this answer choice would be answer choice D. Okay. Which pair of angles are alternate interior angles? So in this case, they're going to be alternating. One's going to be on one side of the transversal, the other's going to be on the other, and they're both going to be on the inside of those lines. So angle 3 and angle 4, these are both interior angles, but they're not alternating. Okay, so this would not work. These are actually supplementary angles. Okay, answer choice B says angle 3 and angle 5. These are both on the interior, but they're not alternating. Answer choice C is all angle 3 and angle 6. These are both on the interior angles, and they're alternating. One's on the bottom of the transversal and one's on the top of the transversal. So this answer choice C would work. But if you continued, you could see that answer choice D says angle 3 and angle 7, but 3 is on 3 and 7 are both on the same side of that transversal, and angle 7 is actually considered an exterior angle. So our answer for this would be answer choice C. And these are just some good examples to kind of, help you see how to classify these angles and how to determine what kind of angle that they would be. Which pair of angles are corresponding angles? Okay, corresponding angles. So remember, with corresponding angles, they have to be same side of the transversal and same side of those parallel lines. So they either need to both be to the left of those lines or both be to the right, both on the top of the transversal or on the bottom. So answer choice A says angle 1 and angle 4, which we already said in the last question that these are actually vertical angles, so that's not going to work. Answer choice B, angle 1 and angle 5, okay, they're both on the same side of the transversal and they're both to the left of those lines. So our answer choice would be answer choice B, okay. If we continued though, if we looked at answer choice C, okay, if we looked at answer choice C, angle 1 and angle 7, they're both on the same side of the transversal, but angle 1 is to the left of this line, and then angle 7 is to the right of this line, so that wouldn't work. They need to be on the same side. And then answer choice D says angle 1 and angle 8, but these, one's on the bottom of the transversal, one's on the top. So these are actually alternating angles, alternate exterior angles, okay? What about what angle is an alternate exterior angle with angle 2? I'll give you guys a couple seconds to take a look at this one, kind of see if you can't figure out, use the wording of this to help you answer this question. So if they're alternate angles, they have to be opposite. So one's got to be on one side of the transversal and one has to be on the other. And then if they're exterior angles, they both need to be on the outside of those two lines. So if we find angle 2, we want to find its alternate exterior angle. Okay. Alternate exterior. So it has to be on the other side of the transversal. So angle 2 is on the top of the transversal. So we either need angle 1, 3, 5, or angle 7, and they need to be exterior angles. Well, angle 1 wouldn't work because it's not, that's supplementary, so we could say angle 1 doesn't work. Angle 3 and 5, those are both interior angles, so they would not work. So we would say that the alternate exterior angle of angle 2 would be angle 7. All right. This is just kind of overview of your newsletter. You could take a look at it on the announcements page, which we'll go over during Thursday's live class as well. But just so that you have this to kind of look through, okay? With testing this week, the schedule is a little bit different. We will not meet on Wednesday, but we will meet on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning, okay? And then we will go through Unit 2.05 on parallel lines and transversals. And again, we're meeting on Thursday this week, but we will also have no live session on Friday, okay? Please also make sure, you know, to get the 15 questions in the diagnostic done. Normally we've got those live classes, you know, which are great. So I can kind of encourage you guys. Wanted to add that encouragement into this video as well so that you can see that and, you know, remember to get those done before tomorrow, and then Wednesday this will start over. This week will start over. If you have any questions, you know, you could send me an email, reach out to me. We've got the help session Mondays and Thursdays at 4 to kind of help with anything you might have questions about. But you can also send me emails and we can set up a time where we can, you know, I can try to help you out with any questions that you have. All right. Thank you guys for watching this. I will see you on Thursday.